You think you know what she wants. You think love is mutual, that desire is equal, that pain means something. But what if you're wrong? You've been lied to, not by her, but by the stories you told yourself. And tonight, we're going to peel that lie open. Slowly, brutally. Not to blame, not to hate, but to finally understand. This is not just a video about women, it's about you, about the forces you don't see, the truths you've felt, but never put into words. Let's begin. Just you meet her. She laughs, she listens, and for a moment you feel like a king in exile, finally welcomed home. But deep down, something twists in your chest, an unease, because she's not really seeing you. She's seeing what you represent. And what you don't realize is that gaze, that smile, that warmth, it's not unconditional. It never was. Plato, in his Symposium, wrote that love is a longing for immortality through beauty. But whose beauty? Yours? Hers? Or is it an illusion shared by two people afraid of emptiness? In Greek mythology, the sirens sang so sweetly, men threw themselves into the sea to reach them. Do you really think that story was about lust? No, it was about power. The power of the unseen, the unspoken, the projected. From Pandora's box to Eve's apple, men have both feared and worshipped the feminine as something divine and dangerous. Why? Because the female psyche does not operate on the logic you've been taught. It flows beneath. Machiavelli warned that power doesn't always wear a crown. It wears a smile. It waits. It chooses. And the most unsettling truth? You were never really the one in control. God, you were told love is sacred, that being vulnerable is noble, that if you open your soul, she'll cradle it gently. But here's the truth Nietzsche exposed. Romantic love is not unconditional. It is strategic. It is psychological warfare disguised as affection. That doesn't mean she's cruel. It means she's human. And humans are driven by deeper, darker forces than they like to admit. Freud called it the unconscious. Bonhoeffer called it the will. You called it heartbreak. But heartbreak isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. It's how nature teaches you what your ego refuses to learn. Carl Jung believed every woman carries within her multiple archetypes: the mother, the maiden, the huntress, the seductress, the queen, the shadow, and she wears them like masks, some unknowingly, others with chilling precision. You may think you're loving her, but what you're loving is your fantasy of her. And she may love the reflection of herself she sees in your longing. But if that reflection breaks, if you stop being the mirror she needs, she will vanish, like Eurydice disappearing when Orpheus looked back. She leaves, or worse, she stays but pulls away, and you ask, what did I do wrong? But that's the wrong question. The better one is, what pain was I trying to fix by loving her? Because here's the brutal truth. Most men don't fall in love with a woman. They fall in love with the idea that a woman will finally make their emptiness stop hurting. But no woman can do that. Not forever. Not even for long. Diogenes, the cynic, walked around with a lantern in broad daylight looking for an honest man. Maybe what he was really looking for was a man who had stopped chasing ghosts. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this all just darkness? No, because there's a reason these experiences hurt so much. And it's not because love is a lie, it's because you are awakening. Pain is not your enemy, it is your initiation. Kierkegaard said that despair is the sickness unto death, but it is also the doorway to selfhood. When you see through the illusion, not with bitterness but with clarity, you begin to love differently, not as a child, not as a beggar, but as a man who is no longer afraid of himself, a man who no longer confuses attention for affection or validation for value. You don't need to hate her. You don't need to hate yourself. But you do need to wake up. Start noticing the roles you play in the dance, the scripts you follow without questioning, the pain you recycle and call destiny. You're not weak because you long for connection. You're not broken because you've been hurt. But you are lost if you don't learn from it, and worse, if you refuse to. Know this, she is not your enemy, but she is not your salvation either. Your salvation is you, your shadow, your hunger, your forgotten strength. As Plato said, know thyself, because without that, you will chase reflections forever, and every time they disappear, you'll think it's because of them. But maybe, just maybe, it was because you never saw yourself clearly to begin with. If this pierced something inside you, don't let it fade. Subscribe, not just to this channel, but to the journey, to waking up, to understanding who you are, before you try to understand anyone else. Welcome to Know Thyself. We're just getting started.